Everybody, right, it's another little plumbing job at work. Toilets never seem to be too far away when you're working as a school caretaker. I suppose when you've got about 50 plus of them in the school, there's always going to be one of them got a problem. So this one started leaking from the base of the tank. I haven't had a chance to look properly, but I suspect there's a little crack in it. And because these didn't have an isolation valve on it, what I had to do is muck about putting that little steel rod in, you can see, to hold the ball up so it wouldn't keep filling up. So just to make it a bit safer, and a job I wanted to do a long time ago was actually to fit an isolation valve on the pipe. We've got quite a few toilets in the place that need doing. Just one of them jobs you got to get round to doing. So as with all plumbing jobs, first thing to do is make sure you turn your water supply off. These are very handy. I'm not sure what the official name is for these, but come in various sizes to fit these main stopcocks. So they're handy to have. Just makes it a little bit easier to do get it done right, rather than mucking about. What size is it? That's the one. If you haven't got one of these, you can remove this outer casing and then you can just do it with a set of adjustables, but obviously having that makes life easier. So we'll just make sure that has shut off. Not quite all the way off yet. That's done it. Bit on the tight side. So one of them things that like they'll go year after year without being touched. So when you come to do them, they are a bit on the stiff side. So once you're sure you've got the water turned off, so I'm sure you've seen these little isolation valves. Very simple, just compression fittings. Just a little ball in the centrepiece, little quarter turn, and that blocks off that hole. So quite a straightforward job to do. So if you've got one of these pipe cutters rather than a hacksaw or anything, makes it much easier. These do very faint on this one. They do have a little directional arrow so you know what way to turn it. You can barely see it on that one. On some of these other toilets they do have isolation valves, but they are actually built onto the flexi hose, which I'm not too keen on, because in the school we have on one occasion we have actually had one of these flexi hoses fail on us, where it just had a little pinhole kind of in the braided area. So it was a nice controlled leak, but they can fail. So obviously if the isolation valve's on the braided hose and that's what you want to change, then you are going to have to shut the main water off to your property while you're doing this little job. So when you're doing this, you can see where the little grooves are down here. That's roughly how far your pipe's going to go in. So I've already marked this one up. So you just hold it on, mark roughly where you need to cut the pipe. This one's going to be a bit easier. The fact that it's on a flexi hose gives you a bit of play with that, whereas if it's a rigid pipe then obviously you might have to struggle a little bit getting a bit of play on the pipe to be able to get the isolation valve on. And you use the centre groove on these cutters, that is where your wheel is, so that's a good reference point, so you can get that lined up with the mark you made on the pipe. As we've done there, push on. Not quite on there. Where are we? and that's because of the paint. It's being a little bit temperamental. Let's get on there. That's it, it's starting to bite now. Didn't feel like it was cutting to begin with for some reason. So that's the first cut made. You're trying to cut a very small section out, sometimes they can be a little bit tricky because the roller is not fully on the pipe. These big roller you've got here, if it's only kind of half on that, then it can kind of off balance it and you end up with a bit of a wonky cut. I think we should just get away with this one, hopefully. You do really feel it as it starts to cut into the pipe. Got your little section removed. So we'll get a little bit of sandpaper just to clean them bits of pipe off a touch. I won't go to the trouble of getting all the paint off. I'll have a go and see if I can get it to seal okay without going to the hassle of scrubbing every bit of this paint off. Probably best to take it off, to be honest, but I shall risk it. The paint's quite smooth, so I think the olive should bite into that quite well. You do get a deburring tool you can use just to take the rough edges off. I haven't bothered to bring it down with me tonight, but as usual it's getting on a bit, so this is a last minute job. Save me rushing trying to do it Monday morning. You can use compression fittings without this stuff, and a lot of people do, and I have on many occasions and not had a problem. But for the sake of what these cost, I think it was about £4 or £5. This is a jointing compound that helps sort of seal it a little bit better. You'll see there it says potable water. Basically that means drinking water. So if you're going to use this stuff on pipe work that's going to your taps and things, then if you use this you must make sure it says potable water or drinking water on the can. Any of the other ones will obviously have some kind of chemicals in it that you're not supposed to take into your body, so make sure it's got potable or drinking water on it. It normally says potable. I don't know why they don't just put drinking water, but I have on occasion seen it with drinking water written on it. So I'm going to put that stuff just in that little kind of chamfered edge there. That's where the olive is going to seal around there. So just for a little bit of extra security, like, just put that on there. This stuff's basically waterproof. Just makes it that a little bit more secure when you use it. But I say quite often you could use it without it and you'll probably be just fine. But why not be that a little bit safer? So you don't need much. So that's where the olive will sit nicely into that groove when it's in place. So nut on first. A little bit tight due to the paint. Just had to work that a bit just because getting the paint on there. Then pop the olive on. While the liner fitting. Just make sure you've got that pushed in nice and secure. You know you've got a reasonable amount of pipe in there. It's not going to fly off. Just grab my grips. So with your adjustables and your grips holding the main body of the isolation valve. You do these up reasonably tight, you don't have to go absolutely crazy, just to the point where you feel you've done that nice and securely. Feels good to me. If you over tighten them, you can basically distort the pipe a bit and increase the possibility of actually getting a leak on it. Best to be a little bit gentler and then just look at it. If you have got a little bit of a leak on it, then just give it that extra little nip up and you'll probably be fine then. Again, just slip your nut and your olive on. So there's a bit of paint on there, you might have to just work it a little bit just to get that paint off. You probably are better to take the paint off just because it's late again, and it's probably about 9:20 at night now, so I should have buggered off at 9 o'clock, but I thought I'd do this rather than rushing Monday morning to do it before people turn up. Just put that down just a fraction more till I'm happy I've got that pipe in there sufficiently. Just rough that paint up a bit. Sometimes trying to make these little shortcuts don't always pay off. So you probably are better get the paint off, save mucking about, struggling with it. So you get to the end of the day and you just want to bugger off home. Yeah, that should be fine now. So you just want to make sure you've got a reasonable amount of pipe going into that fitting. They're only pushing so far and then they stop. So that feels like that just bottomed out. Obviously make sure you got it turned so that you can actually get your screwdriver in. So back on with the grips again. What you probably should do, which I haven't done this time round, I normally do, is when you're fitting these, actually have it turned off, so when it's straight in line with the pipe, that's it turned on. And as you turn a quarter of a turn, just think of that as basically to make you remember a roadblock across it. Right. I shall go and turn the water back on and hopefully we'll not see no leaks. That's the water running. That's all feeling pretty good. I'll let this tank fill up, even though I know it's going to leak a bit, because despite the fact we had an out of order sign on it, a couple of people have tried to use it, so it's got like some nasty stuff in the toilet and no way of flushing it, so despite the fact I know it's going to leak out the tank a bit, I'll turn it on, take a little pin out. It's like a bit of a slow filler, because I flushed one of the other toilets and that's filling up at the same time. Good material for testing for leaks is a bit of tissue. the slightest little bit of water, it does show very easily. So grab some tissue, feel around it. Tiny little bit of water on there, but obviously you know how easy tissue soaks water up, so it stands out a mile away. So that's all looking good. Just waiting to see this start leaking again, wherever the hell it was leaking from. Because we did have it off the one day because we had a bad blockage in there, so but it's just been left since then. It's not actually appearing to be leaking at the moment, which is a bit strange, because it definitely was. That's the guy that was undoing the, unblocking the drain, just knocked it about a bit and pulled the pipe out of liner down there. I'm saying that there's not a great deal of water in there yet. See if we can open that valve up a little bit more. Where did I put my key? Get a bit more water pressure going. Feels fully open actually. Always best to never open these fully. You always say turn it back a little bit. Then you're getting with a chance of, if they seize up, being able to wiggle it from one side to the other. Whereas it's fully open and it sees, you probably won't manage to unseize it. Don't know whether this needs a new valve. That seems to be extremely slow at filling up. It is rather old, so don't put much water in that at all. These are very old and were cheap and nasty when they were fitted. So I'll give that a minute to fill up and then I'll give it a flush. Alright, that did, I was just about to say I filled it up but it's not leaking, but as we can see it is again leaking. And say that's a bit strange. Now that is right by the nut actually, so it might not be a crack. Maybe just needs taking out all the crap clean from underneath it and see if that does anything. Yeah. Come at it while I've got my grips here. I'll give it a try. I've got a feeling that inlet valve might be a bit faulty actually, because I've actually had to fill it up using the kettle. Seems to be like very slow, which might explain the really bad blockage we had on it. If it's not been filling up and people have just been using it and it's only getting flushed every once in a while. Well, that feels nice and solid, so I'll have to investigate. Not tonight though, but I'll take it out and check underneath that, the seal of this part. At least I can give it a flush because it's definitely not smelling too nice. I think I maybe did shut it off actually. Yeah, as you can see, with these valves, when the screw's going across the way, that's it shut off, and when it's in line with the pipe, that's it open. Just makes it a simple way to remember. But well, that's one thing done. At least I don't have to be worried about that little bar being in there, because that had dropped down, then it would have filled up. So nice simple job fitting them isolation valves, not a tricky one. Probably are better clean all the paint off first, and then you're not struggling to get the nut on, which I normally would have done, just because I say it's late at night and I'm rushing to get it done and shoot off home. So that's me done for another week. So hope it's of some help to you. Catch you later. Everybody, just one last thought on these isolation valves. As you'll have seen when you looked into the isolation valve, although that's a 15mm pipe, the inner diameter of that valve is probably, I don't know, I bet it's probably only about 8mm. So you are restricting the flow of water. So it's something where you don't want that to happen too badly. You can now buy these things in full, they're called full bore isolation valve. Even then it still won't be the full 15mm or 22mm depending what pipe you're fitting it to, but it will be considerably bigger than what that one is. So if it's something like on your bath or something you were fitting them to, then obviously you wouldn't want to slow the flow of water down too greatly. So I would recommend paying that a little bit extra to go for the full bore isolation valve. And the same with these flexi tails, although it makes it a lot easier for the DIYer. You don't have to be able to bend the pipe perfectly to fit on there if you had copper pipe all the way up, but you have the same issue with them, although it's to fit a 15mm pipe. Same again, the diameter of that pipe inside is probably again about 8mm. So just something to think about if you're putting it on something where the volume of flow of water you get into that item does matter, then these things are maybe not the best option for you. Right, I'm off home. Catch you later.